The story kicks off with Carrie, who shows up to celebrate her college friend Olivia's birthday. As she stands around waiting, she notices some of their other friends are also on their way. Because who doesn't want to join the party where things are about to get really interesting? While waiting, Carrie strikes up a conversation with a creepy little girl playing nearby. The girl gives off such strange vibes that Carrie decides to walk away, probably realizing she's not at a children's party, but at a horror movie audition. Moments later, Carrie's friend Gabby shows up, ready to bring the fun. Or maybe add to the nightmare. Both are thrilled to see each other after a long time, like two skeletons finally finding their matching bones. Gabby's boyfriend, Chris, who is known for his heavy drinking, because water clearly isn't his thing, also joins them. Later, Olivia arrives, followed by their wealthy friend Sophia. Carrie doesn't like Sophia due to their history. Sophia had been toxic and behaved oddly toward Carrie during high school. Despite this, everyone is enjoying the reunion, and Olivia surprises them with plans to visit a club called Blue Light. Although the club is far away, they have a solution. Olivia's boyfriend, Michael, has brought his uncle's RV and his ex-Marine roommate, Jason, along to help with transportation. As the group prepares to leave, Carrie tries to talk to Jason, but Sophia interrupts her. Soon, everyone gets into the RV and sets off for Blue Light. They have a great time on the road until they stop at a gas station to refuel, buy snacks and grab some drinks. While there, Carrie tries again to talk to Jason. Meanwhile, two truck drivers start harassing Gabby and Sophia. When Gabby and Sophia stand up for themselves, the situation escalates, and the truck drivers become aggressive. Chris tries to help but ends up needing assistance himself. At this point, Jason steps in. Being an ex-Marine, he handles the situation by beating the truck drivers and protecting everyone. Although the truck drivers look intimidating, Jason's skills leave them defeated. The group gets back into the RV and resumes their journey. Everyone praises Jason for his bravery. As they drive, a truck suddenly appears behind them and begins ramming their RV. It's likely driven by the same truck drivers seeking revenge. Jason does his best to avoid the truck, but it pulls up next to them and the driver starts shooting. Jason skillfully maneuvers the RV away from the truck, and finally manages to steer it to a safer spot where they can stop and catch their breath. Just as Carrie thought things were calming down, she tried to thank Jason with a kiss, but Sophia beat her to it, because nothing says complicated group dynamics like a surprise makeout session. Carrie was left stunned, wondering if she'd signed up for a love triangle or just a really awkward reality show. Michael was now left all alone, feeling anxious about what might happen next. He worried that his uncle would be furious if he found out there was a dent in the RV. However, Sophia reassured him that she would take care of the repair. Meanwhile, Carrie tried calling the police, but Olivia stopped her. Gabby then suggested a shortcut to reach their destination, Blue Light. The shortcut required them to go a bit further along the road, so they all agreed and continued walking. During the journey, Carrie made another attempt to talk to Jason. As they proceeded, they came across a fork in the road, but there was no phone signal to check their route. It was nighttime by then, and after driving for a while, they spotted a diner in the distance. They stopped there, but Chris fainted due to taking too many cheap drugs earlier. Jason and Michael carried him to a bed in the RV to let him rest. Michael and Carrie went inside the diner to ask for directions, but the place was filled with truck drivers. When Carrie asked where the road led, the diner owner advised them to turn around and get back to the highway. Michael, however, questioned the truck drivers, but they refused to respond. The diner owner then showed them a gun, scaring them into leaving quickly. Back in the RV, Michael insisted on taking the same route despite the warnings. As they resumed their journey, Carrie, Gabby, Sophia, and Olivia played games to pass the time. Suddenly, something hit their RV, but they couldn't see anything outside. Michael admitted that he had taken the RV without his uncle's permission and worried about the consequences if they got into trouble. At everyone's insistence, Michael stepped out with a flashlight to investigate. Outside, Michael checked the RV's bonnet and searched the surroundings but found no animals or people nearby. He managed to repair the RV, but something caught his attention. Curious, he walked toward it, while Olivia watched from a distance. Suddenly, someone attacked and killed Michael. Olivia, shocked by what she witnessed, fainted on the spot. Jason tried to calm her down, but before they could process what had happened, a demonic voice called out Michael's name. Jason grabbed his gun and ventured outside to search for Michael. He called out for him and looked everywhere but found no trace. Then, he heard Michael's voice coming from the forest. Jason followed the sound into the woods, where something began running around him. As Jason's flashlight flickered and went out, he was attacked by the mysterious entity. Inside the RV, the others heard the sound of Jason's gunshots echoing through the night. Olivia and Chris were unconscious, while Gabby, Carrie, and Sophia were still awake. I was also there, feeling terrified. Carrie began looking outside the window, trying to figure out what was happening. Suddenly, she spotted someone's hands outside the window, which scared her. Then, out of nowhere, the door of the RV opened on its own, and in front of them stood Jason, covered in blood. But before they could react, something grabbed Jason and dragged him away into the darkness, leaving the three of them terrified. As if this wasn't horrifying enough, a demonic voice started speaking, sending chills down their spines. All three quickly closed the RV's windows and doors, but to their shock, they opened again on their own. Seeing the open door frightened them even more, and Sophia tried to start the RV and drive away. However, after driving barely 100 meters, the RV stopped by itself and began moving backward. Something unseen was pulling the RV back to where they started, and when it reached the same spot, it stopped again. Gabby, now overwhelmed with fear, lashed out at Sophia in frustration. Carrie calmed Gabby down, and the three sat together, trying to make sense of what was happening. They began to wonder if this was all part of a prank by Michael and Jason to celebrate Olivia's birthday. After all, they had been following Michael and Jason on this route, and maybe the strange events were part of a plan. They even thought the RV moving backward could be something Michael and Jason had set up. However, they remembered that Olivia had a strong aversion to smoking. Whenever someone smoked near her, she would get nauseous and start vomiting. To test their theory, Sophia lit a cigarette, and Gabby started recording to see Olivia's reaction. Strangely, Olivia didn't respond at all, making them realize this wasn't a prank. Someone or something was genuinely toying with them. While they were processing this, the RV was attacked again by the mysterious force, but after some time it stopped. Carrie and Sophia tried restarting the RV, while Gabby went to check on Chris, who had been unconscious the entire time. To her shock, Chris woke up, but something was wrong. Gabby called Carrie and Sophia, and they discovered that Chris had overdosed and was vomiting. He spoke about having a dream where Carrie, Sophia, Gabby, and Olivia were present, but Jason and Michael were missing. This confused all three of them. How did Chris know this when he had been unconscious the entire time? Chris fainted again, and just then they noticed Olivia waking up. She seemed to be talking to someone on her phone. The three of them looked at their phones for just a moment, but when they turned back, Olivia was gone. Only her phone was left behind, and when Sophia picked it up, she could hear her own voice coming from it. This terrified them even more. Panicked, they decided to leave the RV and run away, but to their horror, the RV was locked from the outside. Olivia saw the three of them standing in front of the RV as it slowly moved away into the darkness. She realized something was calling her using Michael's voice, and she, too, disappeared into the darkness. The three of them were helpless to stop her. After a while, Olivia regained consciousness, as though she had been under some kind of hypnotic spell that was now broken. She started running back toward the RV. When she reached it and tried to open the door, the three inside noticed something strange. There was another Olivia standing at a distance. There were now two Olivias, and it became clear that this was all part of an illusion or a trick. Gabby moved to open the RV door, but Sophia stopped her. She had noticed something odd. There was no reflection of Olivia in the mirror. This realization startled Olivia outside, and she began screaming before suddenly disappearing again. The three of them were paralyzed with fear and began regretting their decision to leave the highway. They sat together, trying to make sense of everything, and concluded that the place they were stuck in might be an old barrier site. Their suspicions turned out to be correct because the thing attacking them was none other than a Wendigo, a malevolent Native American spirit. Wendigos are humanoid creatures known for attacking people at night, mimicking their voices and appearances, and playing mind games. They are shape-shifting tricksters with powers of hypnotism and fear-inducing illusions, but they are terrified of light. This was why the movie they were living in was called Don't Turn Out the Light. As they were discussing this, the Wendigo attacked them again. Desperate, the group started searching for weapons inside the RV, using whatever they could find to defend themselves. In the chaos, a fire broke out, but Sophia quickly put it out. At that moment, Gabby noticed that the Wendigo had left. Ignoring Sophia and Carrie's warnings, Gabby decided to go outside to get help. She grabbed an axe for protection and stepped out of the RV, but what she saw was horrifying. Shreds of Olivia's body scattered outside. The Wendigo had tricked them, making them believe Olivia was still alive earlier. Gabby realized that if they had understood the reflection clue, Olivia might have survived. Distraught but determined, Gabby left to find help. After she was gone, Sophia and Carrie sealed the RV door, covered all the windows and sat together trying to stay safe. Suddenly the RV's lights went out, so they lit candles. However, the candles kept flickering and extinguishing. Out of nowhere, the TV turned on, playing live footage of Sophia. To their horror, they saw someone standing behind them on the screen. At that moment, the lights came back on, revealing Chris, who had regained consciousness. Sophia and Carrie frantically explained everything that had happened, but Chris didn't believe them. He thought it was all a prank or a bad joke. He casually said he was going to rest and maybe read one of the books scattered around the RV. However, Carrie noticed that the books were about black arts, black magic, demonology, and satanic rituals. They realized these books belonged to Michael's uncle. Sophia and Carrie started suspecting that someone had summoned a demon using these books, and everything they were experiencing might be linked to that. But to Chris, it all still seemed like a joke. Chris soon realized this was no joke as the Wendigo returned and began striking the RV from outside. The repeated attacks caused the RV's lights to go out again. Chris, determined to fix the issue, grabbed some tools and managed to get the lights working. However, to restart the RV, he needed to check the engine, which required him to step outside. He armed himself with a knife and carried his tools as he ventured out. While checking the engine, Chris bent down to pick up the tools, but they mysteriously slid under the RV on their own. Crawling underneath to retrieve them, Chris vanished from Carrie and Sophia's sight, leaving them terrified. Suddenly, the Wendigo appeared and attacked Chris, stabbing him with the very knife he had brought. Carrie hurried to pull Chris back into the RV, removed the knife and covered his wound. Together they managed to repair the engine, and the RV started again. Unfortunately, they realized the fuel was empty. The fuel containers were stored at the back of the RV, so Chris and Carrie went to retrieve them. They broke the lock and carried the containers to refill the tank. Inside the RV, Sophia noticed something strange. All the windows and doors were wide open. She began hearing eerie voices, and blood started to pour from her ears and eyes. Meanwhile, Carrie saw that the fuel hole had mysteriously sealed itself shut. The situation grew worse when Sophia, in her panic, mistook someone approaching her for the Wendigo and stabbed them, only to realize it was Carrie. Horrified, Sophia tended to Carrie's wound and stopped the bleeding. As they tried to regroup, they spotted a car approaching from a distance and felt a glimmer of hope. Chris decided to head toward the car while Sophia and Carrie stayed near the RV. But as the car got closer, Sophia and Carrie remembered the Wendigo's deadly tricks. By the time they tried to warn Chris, it was too late. Chris was too far from the RV, and the lights had gone out again. The car, now suspiciously close, rammed into Chris, pinning him on the antlers mounted on its bonnet. Chris was killed instantly. Only Carrie and Sophia remained, both paralyzed with fear. Adding to their dread, They realized that the antlers on the car's bonnet resembled those of the Wendigo, suggesting the creature was still near, playing its sinister games. This was all part of the Wendigo's tricks. Exhausted, Carrie and Sophia fell asleep. However, when Carrie opened her eyes, she saw Sophia sitting next to her. Suddenly, Sophia started strangling Carrie. Seemed like a strange joke, but it was actually a dream. Just as Carrie began to process it, Sophia appeared again and stepped on her. Shockingly, this too was a dream. Now Carrie couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't. As she tried to make sense of it all, the radio turned on, and a little girl's voice began singing a poem. Frustrated and scared, Carrie smashed the radio. But then Sophia broke something over Carrie's neck. When Carrie looked closely, she saw a pentagram tattoo. She dismissed it, saying it was just a star, not a pentagram. Suddenly, smoke began to fill the RV. Carrie, panicked, told Sophia to hold her hand so they could run away together. They both rushed out of the RV, but Carrie realized Sophia hadn't held her hand. It was another one of the Wendigo's tricks. The creature killed Sophia as well. Carrie, terrified, started running away and ended up in the jungle. There, she found Gabby's severed leg, confirming Gabby hadn't survived either. Desperate to escape, Carrie kept running and eventually reached the highway. But before she could cross it, she suddenly disappeared. This meant that Carrie, too, couldn't escape the Wendigo's grasp. Much later, a new group of friends appeared, traveling along the same route toward the mysterious blue light area. On their way, they spotted Carrie's RV. One of the girls remarked how strange it was that someone had left such a nice vehicle behind, just like Carrie's group had said about another car earlier. In a post-credit scene, a man sits down to breakfast, casually munching away while watching TV. The same creepy little girl's song from the radio plays, because who doesn't love a soundtrack with their cereal, right? He then places a photo of a woman on his plate like it's the latest trendy side dish. And just like that, the movie ends, leaving you wondering if it's the woman's photo or his weird breakfast choices that are more disturbing.